Nico Iamaleava has completely ruined his career by transferring to UCLA, as the Bruins are embarrassed once again.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever it's your podcast and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. Welcome back, everydayers. We're reacting to the debacle in Las Vegas. UCLA utterly dominated by the UNLV Rebels. This is utterly embarrassing at this point because Nico has come to UCLA and all of a sudden the Bruins have played like complete and utter garbage. And I would love to say much, much worse, NSFW things, but we're just not going there. The NSFW is watching UCLA play football right now, watching UCLA try to protect Nico, watching Nico trying to do anything, watching the defense come out and actually have a decent game plan and just completely shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over and over again when some of the play calls aren't that bad by Kai Malloy, but they can't tackle. When the ball's uncatchable, they take the guy out. When the kicker is supposedly the worst kicker ever known to mankind, the broadcast is saying he makes a 50-yarder. And then they're calling UCLA UNLV 30. It's an embarrassment, an utter embarrassment. I was texting my girlfriend and saying, hey, do you have a paper bag? Because I am utterly embarrassed. I couldn't find one quick enough to put on my face because that is how embarrassing this is right now. Utterly embarrassing the way the UCLA program has come out. Now, it's one thing to get embarrassed by Utah. All right. Now, that was horrible. But somehow it looked like, maybe the first series you could come out and maybe get a 3-0. And then just to be utterly terrible, undisciplined football, lack of execution, seriously no talent. And this is a UNLV team that has kept it close and get up lots of yards and done some silly mistakes against some bad football teams. Sam Houston State, Idaho State, an 0-3 FCS team. They were trailing in the fourth quarter. New Mexico trailed in the fourth quarter to Idaho State, that same Idaho State team that gave UNLV fits. You could argue Idaho State is better than UCLA, one of the worst FCS teams in all of college football. And UCLA is right there near the bottom. ESPN had the Bruins in their bottom 10. I think this week they'll be number one in terms of the worst looking team in the country. You look at embarrassment, you could see a couple of upsets, everything. No, it starts and ends with UCLA right now. And unfortunately, the way I've come in and thinking about this game was that this is a lose your job type of loss for DeShaun Foster. Now, I don't think UCLA would fire him right after the game. It's a year and 2 games in, but this is the type of game that just destroys the program. That you just get embarrassed, you bring in your hyped recruit who has ruined his career and done nothing to get anything going the first 2 games with the offensive potential wonderkin I was hoping to see in Tino Sunseri, and the Bruins have been utterly embarrassing. Taken many, many, many steps back offensively all around, and the defense just can't seemingly figure it out. All right, this is utterly, utterly embarrassing, and the Bruins are on track to be the worst team we've ever seen. Chip Kelly's first couple of years have been some of the worst football we've ever seen. We've seen what UCLA has tried to do now in DeShaun Foster. I was thinking maybe this will play out like the Hawaii game. No, it oh my goodness. Horrible, utterly deflating with what UCLA is trying to do and build a program. It starts from the top, right? They let Chip Kelly walk out on UCLA instead of firing him after UCLA had a similarly embarrassing loss to Arizona State in 2023. They let him coach out the regular season, coach out the bowl game, stay as the coach, go through a recruiting cycle, go through a transfer portal cycle, and then all of a sudden it turned into a circus when Chip Kelly ended up walking out onto UCLA. And then you had to go and turn to DeShaun Foster because all the good candidates, which were ripe for hiring in the 23 to 24 cycle, and UCLA went with their former running back with no true coordinating experience and head coaching experience. After all that, they flash forward. UCLA tries to make something of themselves. They bring in the super hyped Nico Iamaleava. Comes in, they're closing practice. They're trying to make it look like they have something to hide. Well, what they're trying to hide, apparently, is the fact that they were utterly embarrassing and one of the worst teams I've ever seen so far the first 2 weeks of the season. How do you come in unprepared at home and on the road, undisciplined, unmotivated, with just no regard for the game? A mockery of the UCLA program. And I'm hearing from Dispatch that UCLA is What? Dropping the football program, the embarrassment is too much? Yes, satire heavily implied. Like, where do you just showcase zero improvement, right? DeShaun Foster earlier this week came out and said, "We are close," was one of the first practice pressers quotes that he had. No way are they anywhere near close to anything good. They are close to potentially firing DeShaun Foster, right? And I feel bad for the guy because he did a lot of things that were right. It just unfortunately did not do anything good on the gridiron. Like utter garbage. Like I don't know. And maybe it's the administration to help behind him, right? Because you sit there and you're watching UCLA. If you know about practice, they don't even have a practice field. And then you got UNLV, who's sitting there with their program in a gorgeous stadium, sharing with the Raiders and having a lot more fanfare than what UCLA's coming to do and having nobody show up to the Rose Bowl. All right. You could argue that the UCLA New Mexico game could have the lowest attended scanned tickets. There might be the lowest attendance in the Rose Bowl when they play New Mexico on a short week on a Friday night. Maybe you might see Tennessee fans just as a joke buy a bunch of tickets for UCLA just to help them out because this is so embarrassing and a new low that I don't know where to go with this. Like utter garbage. And back to Nico, like to come here with the potential NIL dispute, to come here with the idea that they needed better offensive linemen, and despite the changes at the offensive line coach position, despite what they try to do in the transfer portal, they have done nothing to heed Nico's or his team's wishes that he was trying to leave Tennessee theoretically for and put himself in a dumpster fire. That is UCLA. So what's Nico going to do to prove that he is NFL worthy in this season when you can't protect him? He hasn't thrown the ball. He can't do anything. He's fumbling on 4th and 1, not because he can't make a play, but UCLA is just utterly embarrassing themselves. Like, where's UCLA going? Where's Nico going? To the portal? Bring his brother? Bring everybody with him? I don't know, but this is going terribly wrong. Where could UCLA go after this? Could they? I just don't know. It is as embarrassing as it gets. Now, if we wanted to reverse boycott UCLA and go to the Rose Bowl, but all put paper bags on our heads and then defy the security guards and go sit up by the tarps, right? Because if you go to the Rose Bowl and you sit anywhere close to a tarp, the Rose Bowl security is going to yell at you. Well, if you just go all sit at the top of the Rose Bowl, put on paper bags, and just have a reverse boycott, be boisterous from far away, because that's how it sounds like our voices are. We try to be loud, but we're drowned out because it's seemingly far away from the action, because the people close to the action aren't seeing what we're seeing, even though we have a bird's eye view. Like, oh, we can see all what's going on. It's horrible. Apparently, I'm an idiot because I didn't see anywhere near this being this bad. Like, goodness gracious. Like, I thought at least they could at least score and be helpful on offense. Like, you're going to destroy careers out of some coordinators who shouldn't be getting a bad rap for what's going on with UCLA, like a Kakamaloe, like Tino Senseri, ruining the career of a Nico Iamaleava. Maybe he did that on himself with a career-ending move in terms of transferring to UCLA, the embarrassment that it is. Now, you can't fault DeShaun Foster trying to go with home run hires at Eric Bieniemy with the offensive coordinator position, changing things up with Tino, going after Nico. But now it's just the utter laughingstock of college football, and we're only 2 weeks in matchups that I hoped were winnable. Well, Utah clearly wasn't. UNLV certainly was. And the embarrassment drum continues on. Like, how do you just get worse? Like, they played some clean football against Utah and were just dominated. And they showed up in a week where their coach said, we're going to see the most improvement from week 1 to week 2. And then we see the complete opposite. Now, if it's opposite week, when you go to school, you're in elementary school, you're in high school, or maybe you're a little kid, and you're like, oh, it's opposite day. Maybe that's what it was for DeShaun Foster. Or maybe the team has somehow quit on him in week 2, which is not what they did in 2024. They rebounded from a dominant loss in Indiana. But after this, it's clear that with the new change in chancellor, with the potential from a sweeping change from top to bottom, that UCLA needs to make something happen. All right? Because Nico's good enough to win you some games, but you can't protect him. We literally don't know if he can throw the ball. He can't get kept upright. He looks horrible. Everybody looks horrible. In utter embarrassment to the sport, UCLA's performance has been through the first 2 weeks of the season. My goodness. Well, the full beginning of the NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Well, maybe you might get those bonus bets if you take anything I say with a grain of salt. Oh, UCLA, here's this, here's that. And if you go against what I say, you probably will make some money. So check that out. Or maybe go with who you think is going to win in a player prop, a same game parlay, or jumping in on the live action. Do that with FanDuel. And if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Check it out. Wow. There's simply no words. We'll digest this with guests. I'll continue to try and grade this. We'll see if UCLA decides to make a move or what the vibe is on a short week against a New Mexico team that could very well beat UCLA. The same New Mexico team that came in and almost lost to Idaho State today. They were also, just like UNLV, trailing at home in the fourth quarter to an Idaho State team that's one of the worst programs in the last decade at the FCS level. And they've come in and almost beaten UNLV, beaten Idaho State, or beaten New Mexico, and UCLA couldn't even stay on the same field as UNLV or, the likes of Utah. Embarrassment. Sigh. We'll talk about this. There's going to be a lot more to talk about once we calm down, look at the analytics, and get deeper into, is there anything that can be positive, or are we venting for weeks? Tennessee fans, we're a dumpster fire and a comedy show, stand-up, sit-down comedy. I don't know. I might need a drink. You might need to send me drinks from Knoxville or something, or snacks or something. Check on me. Send me ice cream. I don't know. We're sad. But we're still going to do a Nate clap. Hands up. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.